Good evening and welcome to Talk of the Neighborhoods. I'm Joe Heisler, your host, coming to you from the BNN Live studios, Eggleston Square, Jamaica Plain, where tonight on the Boston Neighborhood Network, we'll continue our coverage of the special primary for the 1st Suffolk and Middlesex Senate District. That is a district that runs, from Revere, Winthrop on the North Shore, East Boston, all of downtown Boston, including Chinatown, Beacon Hill, the North End, and then over into a piece of Cambridge. All the candidates have been here, and the final two will be here tonight, and talking with them about their plans if they're elected. Tomorrow is the special primary election day, and with only 7 Democrats in this race, the winner is the all but certain next state senator for this district. And tonight, joining me, the last of those 2 candidates. Tonight, we continue our coverage of the 1st Suffolk and Middlesex Senate race. That is a special election, special primary election tomorrow. 7 Democrats in this race. The district runs from Revere and Winthrop on the North Shore all the way through East Boston, downtown Boston, Chinatown, the North End, Beacon Hill, and on to Cambridgeport. With only 7 Democrats in this race, the winner is the all but certain next state senator for this district. Of course, the seat opened up when the sitting state senator, Anthony Petruccelli, resigned his seat to take a job in the private sector. Pleased to have joining me tonight one of those 7 candidates. He is a small business owner and a community leader in East Boston, where he lives. Paul Rogers joins us. And Paul, nice to have you here.
I appreciate it.
Thanks
so
for
inviting me on, Joe.
For coming in. Now, this is your first time running, if I recall correctly.
Yes, that's correct. It's my first time running, yes.
What made you decide to jump into the race? A lot of other candidates in this race, some that have held the elective office before, some that haven't. You're one of 3 candidates from East Boston.
Yeah, so there's three of us from East Boston, another obviously 2 from Revere, right. Another one from Winthrop, another one from Beacon Hill. So it's a varied race full of candidates, and that's great for democracy. We have 7 of us, and so it'll be all fully decided up tomorrow. So we all come from different backgrounds. Some of us have had experience in the political world. Some of us have not. Myself, I have not. I come from a business background, actually. In technology, really. But I think the reality is that most people actually know me from my work out as a community leader. And so I've done certainly a lot of work with...
Around what issues have you worked in the community?
So I've actually been managing some social media, Facebook groups for the neighborhood in East Boston. And we originally started out with just a couple dozen members, and now we're upwards of about 6,000. And really the whole idea was to get folks in the community more engaged on political issues and issues that are important to the neighborhood. And I think that's honestly where most people know me from. And the reality is that's where I'm getting a lot of my support, a lot of my the reason for why I'm running is the folks in the district from my neighborhood, is really from around the district. We've gotten a good amount of support.
Of course, a lot of campaigns these days are much more focused and oriented to an online presence, and it's paid dividends, I think, clearly. So you decided to jump into this race, and what's been the reaction so far?
No, we've had a really good reaction. And like you said, it's a lot of it is. I mean, there's a lot of footwork, talking to the people, going out, meeting, doing interviews like this. But we've had plenty of candidate forums. In fact, one of the things that's funny is that we're seven candidates, and we actually know each other pretty well. We've been seeing each other almost every day, and so much so that we can probably recite each other's stump speech, so to speak. But the reality is, there was certainly some important issues that are facing the district, and the district is as a whole, but also of course the Commonwealth too. So we're getting out there, we're talking to people, both online, in person. Doing meet and greets and the like, and we're down here, the election eve.
How do you see the race kind of shaping up or shaking out, however you want to look at it,
Sure.
With so many candidates from East Boston? Now, this has traditionally been seen as kind of an easty seat in the sense that the last two
Right.
state senators have both hailed from there. Anthony Petruccelli, we mentioned earlier, and before him, former Senate President Bobby Travellini. So is the pie big enough for all of you to get a slice that will?
You know, you were alluding to the fact that it's an unusual district in the sense that there's a lot of variation among the people and the background, the neighborhoods, and you know, thanks a bit to gerrymandering, that the border of the district kind of got divvied up in a strange, odd way. But it's really a good district. We talked to a lot of people throughout the district, and but you know, and certainly there is that aspect where it's a seat that's been kind of held in the hands of someone from East Boston for
Where
a
do you
good
see
while
your
now.
strength as? Where will you do well?
No, honestly, there's certainly I think we're a good group of people as far as, you know, fresh faces to the political scene. Some of us are certainly from younger, a little bit older, myself. But the reality is I think for me, I think I hit home when it comes to certainly education, my technology background, as a business background. So I certainly have an appeal as far as making sure that you know, people talking about social justice a lot, certainly, and that's certainly a big issue in East Boston as far as displacement is concerned, as far as the jobs and the economy is concerned. For me, I mean, the ultimate form of social justice is getting people into good paying jobs that they're happy with and that they can raise their families on. And I think that's one thing that, despite the fact that the economy has been doing relatively well in their greater Boston area, a lot of folks here locally in a lot of our neighborhoods have not been able to take advantage of that.
How do you do that? How do you get them into Senator Rogers? How do you do that?
So I definitely have a vision for ensuring that we do the right thing, we take the right steps as far as attracting new businesses, improving the businesses that we have. You know, on the wage front, I'm definitely a supporter of the $15 per hour wage. That certainly has been a hot topic issue. For me, it's not really much of a hot topic. I think we need to work on getting there. But we also need to work for, you know, as far as implementing job training. And I think there's a big aspect there that's kind of gets forgotten. I think that's the key thing for me, is that I'm more focused on making sure that we can organically help these folks get into better paying jobs, so that we can take advantage of, you know, they can take advantage of the economy and how it's doing well, and at the same time they can help themselves and have better, stronger families.
Well, you said training. Has the state kind of failed people, do you think?
I think to a certain extent. I think now that there's a couple things we need to better take advantage of. One, we certainly have a lot of good corporations here now. Certainly, there's been a lot of controversy recently about GE moving to town. And as far as the tax breaks and such, but the reality is, I think we need to be able to better
worth
take
it. Do you think it was worth it to give them the tax breaks?
Yeah, I mean, I think they
here?
felt some. I think they felt some recent pressure as far as giving back to the city with their donations to the back to the city and the education system. So I think overall, in the long term, it'll be worth it, and I think we need to continue to push them as far as making sure that they can be a partner with the city as far as getting folks trained for jobs that are, you know, they're claiming, and then one of their big benefits is that they're going to bring good jobs to the city. Well, we want to hold their feet to the fire on that front. The same thing with I think with you know, with some of the bigger organizations in terms of universities in the city, in terms of Massport. I think we need to be able to hold their feet to the fire and make sure that they're serving. Well, they certainly have the needs as far as serving student population, as far as serving travelers at the airport.
Has Senator Petruccelli, did he do that, in your opinion?
Yeah.
Did he
well,
do
first off, I got to thank Senator Petruccelli for all of his work. He did 17 years of public service
between the House and the Senate.
Between the House and the Senate, first in the House. You know, he certainly did a lot of good work as far on the environmental front. He did a lot of good work on drug addiction related issues. So thanks to him, there's certainly been a lot of things that have been done for us already. But they also leave us a lot of room to you know, as far as on the drug addiction front. We've had some good legislation that was been recently passed by the legislature and Governor Baker, which is a good step. But as the governor recently pointed out, he's not looking for another report on this whole issue until next summer. Summer 2017.
Yep.
But we need, you know, there's a lot of families that are, you know, facing these kinds of issues that
Excuse me.
that I think we need to do to make sure we continue doing things.
Well, you mentioned Governor Baker. Of course, the legislature is dominated by Democrats, and you're a Democrat, and all
Right.
of the other candidates are. So in all likelihood, the next state senator will be as well. Yet here's a guy, a Republican in a blue state with 75, 80% approval ratings. Is he doing a good job? And can you work with him? Or are you willing to, if you differ with him, are you willing to kind of take him on?
Well, listen, I have no issue. I think it's great. We have certainly Massachusetts has a history of being open-minded about who they elect as their governor. And they've had no problems electing either blue or red, whatever you want to look at it, however you want to look at it. And if we're going to have a Republican governor and we need to have a Democratic legislator to keep that balance, it's good that we have a governor that's willing to work with us. And I actually come from a background where I say I'm a big supporter of this No Labels organization, which was started here in Boston.
Don't tell me there's a Republican in your background anymore.
No, not at all. Well, my parents are both.
I'm teasing you.
But I'm definitely a Democrat. But I take the view that if anyone wants to come to the table and sit down and talk an issue out, and they have some good ideas, I'm happy to work with them, regardless of what party they're from.
Well, of course, again, tonight we're continuing our coverage of the first Suffolk and Middlesex Senate race. This is a special election, special primary tomorrow in a district that runs from the North Shore down through Boston, East Boston, downtown area, and on into Cambridge. Paul Rogers, one of the candidates, a small business owner, is here tonight and talking about his plans. Okay, you're elected now. They're already wrangling up there at the State House with a bill to lift the charter cap. And big issue here in the city of Boston. There's thousands of people on waiting lists to get into the charter schools because, I don't know, they don't trust the Boston public schools, or they don't. Is the quality of the Boston public schools good enough for you, or should we be lifting the cap and giving more people more opportunities to take that route?
Personally, I don't. I have complete respect for any parents that make the decision to put their kids through the charter system, through the lottery. But I really don't think that that leaving the future and education up to simply a lottery system for our kids, I don't think that's not really a solution for, as far as I'm concerned. Now,
would you lift the cap though to allow more charter schools?
Personally, I think I don't want to lift the cap, but I think the reality is we're probably going to have to. And I think often people will ask me and ask all the politicians, do you support charters, or are you supporters of district schools? I don't see it necessarily as a pure black and white issue. In the sense that,
although many of the parents, and I don't mean to interrupt, because you were talking about social justice earlier.
Right.
Many of the parents on this waiting list are people of color.
Yes.
In the community of color that
Right.
Are not satisfied with the education of their kids in the Boston public schools.
Absolutely, and that's all the more reason for me to say where is it in the district schools that we're failing? Are we making sure that we're attentive to a lot of issues, or is it simply an issue of marketing our district schools better to the kids? Now, certainly a lot of charter schools, it sounds very appealing to parents, and they have fancy websites and fancy promotional marketing materials, and they've gotten support from outside organizations, outside corporations. So I think first off, we need to do a better job of marketing. So on the district school sides, the district schools and the kids, the ultimate result for the kids that come out of our district schools is how they do in terms of when they go on to college and universities. And we're seeing actually more success amongst kids that are graduating from our district schools than in the charter schools than for those kids who are go on to attend colleges and universities in terms of their graduation rate from those colleges.
Although I think it's fair to say that the rate is still not where a lot of people would like to see it.
Right.
There's been some improvements. All right, we've got a few minutes left, and
Sure.
A lot of other stuff coming down the pike, some of which the legislatures, I think, have been reluctant to deal with, including the whole issue of legalization of marijuana. We'll probably go to a ballot question, just as the charter schools may.
Sure.
What about that? Is Paul Rogers willing to kind of deal with that before we get to that point?
No, I think we need to go based on the research for that. As far as from the research that I've seen so far, it's been more or less against the idea of legalization of marijuana. We have already kind of decriminalized it, but
Right.
as far as legalization, there's certainly a lot more concerns when you look at the legalizing and then acceptance of that that drug on a public basis. So. As far as my position right now is to say no.
No, you don't.
No, I don't support legalization of it, no.
What about, let's see, what are the other issues? How about the millionaire's tax, the fair tax, as it's being called,
Right.
that would raise the income tax rate on the top wage earners or top earners, I should say.
Yeah, I think that there are certainly some things we need to analyze on that front, but overall, I would be optimistic that could be something that would be positive in terms of getting potentially more revenue for both for education, particularly on the educational front and transportation front as well. We could, better really take advantage of, certainly our T is the MBTA system right now is in dire needs, and they're consistently, annually having issues with their funding.
So you put it towards transportation, you put it towards education?
Those are the two big things that are definitely affecting people these days. I think those typically come up. That, of course, in housing. But I think on the tax front, I think we could definitely use that. But the reality is, I think we need to be careful. We need to tread carefully on that because we need to analyze first off, is there any potential cost savings that we could look at from our school system perspective? I know that the city of Boston itself is undergoing some planning, a 10-year plan, but we need to look at that and see as a potential avenue.
Well, we've got just a minute or so left. How do you break through the pack? Because a lot of your colleagues are saying a lot of the same types of things.
Sure.
And how does Paul Rogers kind of cut through that? What's your strategy
for
winning the race?
Okay, so for me, being out in the community and talking to people, holding events, attending events out in the neighborhoods and such, this is actually nothing new for me. So the reality is, whatever happens tomorrow, whatever has happened in the past, I'm always out there. I've made a life out of being out in the public and talking to people and getting people engaged on issues. So that's the thing I think that distinguishes me. So if they decide to elect me, they know that they're going to get a strong voice for them, but they'll also get an ear as well. And I think that's what a lot of people feel. That I talk about, when I talk with in the neighborhoods, they feel that the elected officials are not listening to them, not understanding, and they're not getting the feedback that I think and they think has been critical for success. And I think that's one thing that really differentiates me.
So win or lose, Paul Rogers won't be going away.
I'm not going away anytime soon.
I want to thank you for coming in and joining us tonight. Again, Paul Rogers is a community activist, a small business owner from East Boston, one of 7 candidates in this race. That's the special election for a new 1st Suffolk and Middlesex senator. The seat opened up when the sitting senator resigned, and now 7 candidates, all Democrats in this race. And tomorrow we'll tell the tale, and which brings me to a program note. We here at BNN will be providing live coverage of all the results from tomorrow's special primary, starting at 8:30 here on BNN Live. And unfortunately, we're out of time for tonight, Paul, and thank you so much for joining us. I should mention that the other candidates have been in earlier. Steve Morabito, another of the candidates, was invited and is not here tonight. So we're out of time. We want to thank you for watching Talking the Neighborhoods. I'm Joe Heisler, your host. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.